Hi there, welcome to live stream Yoga with Louise, tips and cues to keep you safe and strong on the mat. Today we are shrugging off all of our troubles and restocking our energy supplies. We are working quite a bit into the shoulders and the back. We'll start off with some gentle mobilization, then run through one round of Chandra Uttanasana, moon salutation, before we start holding the poses a little bit longer, just looking for a little bit deeper of a release. As always, play where you're comfortable, modify when you need to, using props where appropriate, and feel comfortable to take a time out in child pose as and when you need it. You ready to play? Let's hit the mat. We're going to set up for today towards the bottom end of the mat with some room to play in front of you. Find your way down onto the knees and either give me a high kneeling pose with your toes tucked under or the feet soft and relaxed, hips stacked over the knees, or find your way into Thunderbolt, bringing the two knees together, the 2 feet together, and sitting back on the heels. Lengthen through the spine as much as you can. If you're in Thunderbolt, drop the hands to the top of your top of your thighs, and just start giving me a big shrug and a release through the shoulders. If you're holding the kneeling frame, just kneel up nice and tall and shrug those shoulders towards and away from your ears. Change directions. Inhaling as you bring the shoulders towards your ears, and big exhale as you drop those shoulders away from your ears. Keep your belly button softly pulled into center as you play. If you were in Thunderbolt, open up the knees a little bit wider. We're going to find our way into child pose, Balasana. Allow the big toes to float together behind you and gently splay the knees out as you run the hands along the mat, coming into an extended child line with your hands more or less shoulder width apart. Push into both hands, almost creeping back through the palms of your hands and bumping the weight back as far as you can into your bum, as if you were trying to get the bum to touch your heels. Then allow the forearms to relax onto the mat. Bend the elbows and float the forearms in so that you can stack one palm on top of the other and rest your forehead on the back of your hands. Take a big breath in, let's say for 5 counts, and on an exhale, let's say for about 10 counts, drop your head to the left so that you're resting on your right temple, and just soften, relax, and release through the shoulder and the collar area. Inhale and find your way back to center. Exhale, drop and release to the right, coming to rest on your left temple. Inhale and come back towards the center line. Drape the arms alongside your body. Back of the hands connected to the mat and the palms looking up. If you can't get your forehead to the mat, you could perhaps put a block underneath your forehead. If you've got any issues with the neck, stay here in child pose. Otherwise, you're going to play dynamically with child and hare pose, Shashanka. Start with the weight on your forehead and then rock the weight from your forehead onto the crown of your head as you come into a half kneeling frame with your hips softly stacked over the knees. You're going to not hold either pose. You're going to move dynamically between the child and hare, aiming to release that little tension spot on the crown of your head. So as you roll onto the crown of your head, it might feel almost as if somebody is sticking your head with a knitting needle. Try to roll through that little tension spot. Rocking back and forth a couple of times just so you feel that tension spot beginning to abate. Keep your belly button softly pulled in to center as you play. Then gently ease your way back to child pose and pause here for a beat or two, just allowing your blood pressure a chance to stabilize. Come back to your extended child frame by extending both hands shoulder width apart out on the mat in front of you. Come through a loose 4-point kneeling frame and find your stack with your hands stacking underneath your shoulders and your knees stacking underneath your hips. Take a big breath in to prepare, and on the exhale, nod your chin to your chest, round out your spine, getting a nice little contraction in the core. Inhale, come through neutral spine, changing the shape, taking your chin and your bum bones to the ceiling. You're going to oscillate dynamically between the two. And when you're playing with your cat cow today, I'd like you to focus on the release in cat, holding your cat a little bit longer than the cow, maybe working at a 1 to 2 inhalation to exhalation ratio. And as you round out in the cat, I want you to focus on expanding the rib cage behind you, almost as if you were trying to grow the ribs towards the ceiling. Feel that release and that stretch, that opening through the shoulders. Maybe playing with your breath pattern and giving me a nice little ujjayi exhalation, giving me an audible exhale through the nose, but constricting the larynx so that you make a nice audible sound. Almost, your breath will almost start resembling ocean waves gently crashing. Let's do one more round. And then you're going to keep the feet soft and relaxed in parallel behind you as you bump the hips back into child pose. Come through 4-point kneeling. We're going to work a little caterpillar. Bend the elbows, but keep hugging them in, finding your way down onto the belly in a modified cobra. And then gently push through the palms, come up into a half kneeling frame in a modified up dog. Exhale to sit back in child. We're going to work that flow dynamically. Find your way back into your tabletop frame. Bend the elbows to caterpillar down onto the bellies, pausing in a cobra line with your hands framing either side of your bosom. Gently push into the palms, coming to rest on the heel of your hand and your knees in your modified up dog. Exhale to sit back in child. Run through that flow twice more, pausing every time you hit one of the poses and then gently bleeding into the next iteration. Last round. Exhale to hit back in child. Inhale to find your tabletop line. Exhale as you caterpillar down onto the belly. Inhale to find your cobra. Exhale to come up in your up dog. Ease your way down onto the belly. Find that cobra line and maybe slide the hands just in front of your shoulder line. We're going to work a little spontaneous cobra by giving me a shrug and a release, almost tracing a little roundabout pattern through the shoulders and trying to get rid of all that tension in the shoulder blades. Play it up, make sure you're releasing to both sides. So maybe 3 or 4 in one direction and then change it up. And then peel back down to the mat. Tuck your forehead to the mat. Pretend you've got a little marble underneath your nose. Roll the marble away from you to the front of the mat. Start gently peeling up through the ribs, stopping just before your bottom rib disengages, and just shrug or drop the shoulders away from your ears, allowing your suspended elbows to drop closer to the floor. Then gently retuck that marble underneath your nose. Reposition your hands if you had moved them and make sure that they're alongside your bosom. Keeping your elbows tucked in, tuck your toes under. We're going to push up into a plank line. You're going to hold that plank nice and steady with your body line parallel to the mat. Brace your core, brace the tops and the back of your thighs. We're going to kick back into a little puppy. Drop your knees, relax your shins, and drop softly down onto the forearms, almost allowing the forearms to extend softly in front of you as you think of trying to connect your chin and your chest to the floor, looking just off the front of your mat between those two hands. Keep your belly button softly pulled in to center. We're going to morph from here into a dolphin frame. So from puppy, think down dog, tuck your toes under, drop onto the elbows and the forearms, and maybe creep your toes a half a foot forward and try to drop weight down through the heels of your feet. Keep your crown softly hanging off the floor and softly push the mat away through the forearms and the elbows. Hold your quarter dog or your dolphin. Svanasana. And then from here, we'll morph into a down dog frame. Gently start thinking of elongating through the arms, maybe stepping your feet back and trying to get more stretch into the back chain of the legs. Keep hiking your bum up towards the ceiling and draw energy up softly through the fingertips, through the forearms, into the shoulder blades and the upper back. If the back chain of the legs is really stiff, you can walk out your dog by bending the alternate knee and trying to drop one heel closer to the floor as you bend on the other side. Then when the back chain of the legs feels nicely warmed up, hold your down dog frame. From here, we're going to find our way to the front of the mat and start playing with one round of moon salutation. Gently walk your feet forward, setting yourself up towards the front end of the mat with enough room to play behind you, and peel up along the center line. Feet stacking in parallel underneath your hips. Float your hands together with the sides of your hands touching, almost as if you were holding a ball between the two hands, and come to a modified Anjali Mudra, taking a moment to just take your focus inward. Take a big breath in to prepare, and on the exhale, float both hands into your lower back and take a supported back bend. On an exhale, fold forward with a big bend in the knees, palms up, and then oscillate dynamically between the standing back bend and that really soft forward fold, Chandra Uttanasana, giving me an awesome bend in the knees. Let's do one more. The next time you come down, I want you to take a big step back with your left leg. Turn both of your feet softly to the right, coming into a modified side plank as you float your right hand overhead and behind you. And just keep the movement soft and fluid. Then you're going to pivot in the opposite direction and you're going to side squat lunge, dropping your hands as low to the floor as you can. If the floor is not accessible, just work at about waist height, but keep those arms long, dangly, and soft. Give me a lunge line on the left, and then step your way back into a plank. Relax your knees and your shins, and gently find your way into puppy by extending the arms on the mat in front of you and trying to connect your chin and your chest to the mat while piking your bum up to the ceiling. Drag the weight forward onto your belly, set up a cobra, and then give me a little shrug and a playful release into the shoulders. Sahaya Bhujangasana, spontaneous cobra. Let's tuck our toes under, float your bum up to the ceiling, find your down dog frame, and give me soft rotational movement through the knees and the hips in blissful dog Svananda. Still your dog and kick up the left leg behind you in a little three-legged dog, keeping your shoulders and your hips nice and squared, and then change it up. Kick up the right leg behind you. Swing that leg through, trying to stack underneath your hips on both sides as you bend at the knees, palms up to the ceiling. Roll it up, bring both hands into your lower back for the supported back bend, and come back to your start position, palms up to the ceiling. One more round. Big breath in, take your back bend. Exhale and fold forward. Move dynamically between the back bend and the forward fold. Don't stress the poses, just enjoy the movement. One more. On your next journey down, take a big step back with your right leg and turn your feet to the left so that you're knife edging the back foot, and find your side plank flow. Soma Chandrasana 1 and 2, gently throwing that left arm overhead and behind you. Then pivot to face in the opposite direction as you side squat lunge, trying to drop your booty as low to the floor as you can so that you can really feel that opening happening through the groin. Then give me a gentle lunge line on the right and step back into a plank. Relax your knees, your shins and your feet, and extend your puppy line, trying to connect your chin and your chest to the mat, looking off the front of the mat. Drag your weight forward, set yourself up on the belly, and come to a gentle cobra line, giving me a playful shrug and a release of tension into the shoulders. From here, you're going to ease your way into the down dog, pike your bum up to the ceiling, and then move through the knees and the hips in Svananda, blissful dog. Come to stillness and kick up the right leg behind you in your three-legged dog, Tripada Adho Mukha Svanasana. Give me a changeover, kicking up the left leg behind you. Swing through, trying to stack underneath your hips on both sides as best you can as you peel up along the center line to find your little supported back bend, and then come back to your start position, palms looking up to the ceiling. Take a big breath in and check that your feet are still stacking in parallel underneath your hips. You're going to give me a really gentle forward fold with that big bend in the knees, and you're going to ragdoll sway side to side, giving me a soft bendy knee. Keep your belly button softly pulled into center as you peel up along the center line. And heel toe your feet in to connect your big toes and your ankles. Start shrugging and releasing into the shoulders, giving me at least 3 to 4 shrugs in one direction and then changing and releasing in the opposite direction. We're going to play with a little eagle arm bind from here. Open up your arms at your sides in a goalpost frame, so you look like a little cactus, and keep those elbows in line with your shoulders. Float the arms in towards the midline of the body and stack the right elbow on top of the left, binding the hands to come into a gentle prayer-like position. Standing up nice and tall, lift your fingertips up towards the ceiling, and then on an exhale, bend softly at the knees as if you were coming to chair, and tap your bottom elbow to your knees. Come back into your standing position, lifting the elbows up to the ceiling before sitting back into your chair. You're going to do that 3 more times. So moving dynamically between a modified Hastasana and a modified eagle bind chair. All right, 1 more. And then you're going to keep your eagle bind as we come into a warrior 3. Find your standing frame on the mat first. Elbows almost in line with your shoulders. Keep looking through your prayer hands to the wall at the opposite end of the room as you hinge forward from the waist to gently kick up the right leg behind you. Trying to keep your hips nice and in a tabletop line parallel to the floor. You're going to give me a few more breaths here, and then we'll find our way into a full eagle bind Garudasana. Peel gently back up into your standing frame and rest your right foot on the mat for a breath if you need to. Then soften at the knees. Think of sitting cross-legged on the couch as you cross your right leg over your left, either keeping the big toe connected to the mat or tucking those toes behind your calf. Then sit back into your chair, looking through your eagle hands to the wall in front of you. If this feels good, think of dropping the bottom elbow down, contracting through the core as you tap the elbow to the top knee and hold for a beat. Looking for that contraction through the core, that opening through the ribs and the shoulders. Peel back up along the center line, unbind, and open back up into your cactus frame. Think of squeezing the 2 shoulder blades behind your back and coming back to your start position, almost as if you were trying to crack a walnut between your 2 shoulder blades. Then either stay here or play with the elbows, lifting your elbows up and over a gate before you crack that walnut between your 2 shoulder blades. Keep your feet sandwiched together in a narrow mountain, so big toes touching, ankles touching, tailbone softly tucked under, belly button pulled in. All right, soften through the knees. Think Chandra Uttanasana. You can open up the feet slightly if you need to, and gently ragdoll sway. Keep those arms long and dangly, so they're almost weighted towards the floor and coming out of the shoulder blades. Come to stillness along the midline, heel toe in as you peel up along the center line to find your narrow mountain, and shrug your shoulders at least 4 times forward and 4 times backwards. Keep that tailbone tucked under, belly button pulled in. You're going to find your little cactus arms Bring the two elbows in towards the midline of the body and overlay your left elbow on top of the right, coming into a soft prayer-like position. Big breath in, almost lifting the shoulders and tapping the ceiling with your fingertips. Then on an exhale, bending softly through the knees and tapping the bottom elbow to the knees to come back up to your start position. Just doing that dynamically 5 times, looking for that controlled contraction through the core as you tap elbow to knee. Let's do one more. Then we'll find our way into the full Warrior 3 line, keeping that little eagle bind through the arms. Bring your elbows parallel to your shoulders. Take a big breath in, and on the exhale, keeping the eagle bind, softly float the left leg up behind, trying to keep your hips nice and squared to the mat as you give me a modified eagle Warrior 3. Keep your belly button softly pulled in to center. And from here, we'll bleed seamlessly into the full eagle. Coming back to your stand position and resting the left foot temporarily on the floor and shaking it out if you need to. Soften through the knees. Cross your left leg over your right as if you were sitting on the couch, either keeping those left toes on the mat or tucking in behind your right calf, and then sit the weight back into your bum and your heel. Either just looking through those prayer hands to the wall in front of you, or giving me a soft little eagle crunch by tapping the bottom elbow to the top knee and trying to find an even deeper connection, not only to the core, but a beautiful opening through the shoulder blades and a stretch into the back of your rib cage. Peel back up along the center line, open up the feet slightly. Think Chandra Uttanasana and softly sway your arms side to side. Then gently heel toe the feet in, trying to hold your forward fold, maybe dropping the crown of your head down and reaching with your palms for your calves as you nod the crown down. If the floor is not accessible, maybe reaching for a block. Playing with the dimensions of the block and finding a lean-in position that works for you. Or maybe just holding your stretch higher up along the back chain of the legs. Just play where you're comfortable. Hold your forward fold. Allowing the blood a chance to pool in your head. Getting a beautiful inversion of the blood flow. Great for all those wrinkles in the face and those little frown lines. Soften through the knees and ragdoll roll up, making sure that you bring your head up last and just give your blood pressure a chance to stabilize. You're going to find a Warrior 1 line on the right. At first, I'd like you to just float your hands up in parallel, palms looking in towards the center line overhead, and take a little stretch here, almost as if you wanted to tap your fingertips to the ceiling. Take a big breath in and take a big step back with your left leg. Wiggle your right foot forward and settle into your Warrior 1 line. So you've got a nice bend on the lead leg with your knees stacking over your ankle, and the back foot is angled in slightly at 45 so that both of your hip bones are looking to the front and not the side of the room, to the front of the room. Floating those hands overhead, wiggling your feet further and further apart and trying to open up softly through the groin as much as you're comfortable with. Keep your left hand where it is. Take a big breath in and float the right arm down. Make the fingertips heavy towards the floor and pause there for a second. Either staying here or crossing that right arm behind your back and reaching for your opposite hip bone, dropping the right shoulder away from your ear, either keeping your chin line parallel to the floor or gently give me a soft throwback and stretch that little turkey waddle underneath your chin. Come back to your original Warrior 1 line and then open up into a Warrior 2 by opening up your back foot to 90 so that your hips are now looking to the side of the room and your arms are in a soft T-frame. Let's reverse the warrior. Find your Warrior 2 frame first and keep your gaze steady over your front forefinger. Check that you haven't lost knee over ankle on the lead leg. Invert your front palm Pretend that somebody's pulling the hand up to the ceiling. Drop your back hand to your back leg, just gently finding a hold position and thinking of softly bending the elbows to frame your head. Hold for a beat or two. We're going to come straight into a beautiful flowing rotated side angle. Keep the bend in your lead leg, but tuck your back toe under as you float the hands down to the mat. Plant your left hand underneath your left shoulder and rotate the right arm behind you to reach for your opposite hip bone. Dropping the two hip bones as low to the floor as you can and keeping your back toe tucked under. You've rotated that right palm in and you're holding onto your left hip bone. Give me a few breaths here. Then we'll morph into a triangle line from here. Gently unpeel. So think of finding your way back to the front of the mat. Drop your back leg to 45. You might want to scooch it in a little bit as you do so. Straighten up through both legs and windmill into your original warrior two frame. But both legs are extended now and the toes looking slightly towards the front of the mat. Pretend somebody's pulling you forward. Pop out the back hip. Hinge forward to find a resting spot, either pushing with the back of your hand against the shin or bringing your fingertips or your palm to the mat or reaching for a block and finding a comfortable lean-in position as you find your triangle line. We're going to rotate the triangle from here. Bring that top end closer towards your ear line, cross over the midline of the body to either place your fingertips or your palm or hold on to the shin or the ankle as you rotate and float the right arm behind you. If that's not happening, take your block, place it on the outside of your right foot, find a comfortable lean-in position, and modify your triangle. Trikonasana, hold your modified triangle. Softly unpeel, stepping to the top of your mat and floating both hands overhead to pierce the sky. Feet stacking in parallel underneath your hips. We're going to repeat that little sequence on the other side. Take a big step back with your right leg. Make sure that your back foot is at 45. Wiggle the feet out and open up your warrior one line. Check that both of your hip bones are looking to the front of your mat and that your back foot is angled in slightly. Progressively wiggle and open up through the legs. Then keep your right hand where it is. Float the left arm alongside your body and drop the fingertips heavy to the mat. Either stay here or float the hand behind your back, softening through the elbow and rotating the palm in to grab the opposite hip. Keeping your chin line parallel to the floor or gently opening up and stretching the turkey waddle by pointing the chin up to the sky. Then gently find your way back to your original warrior one line. Open up the back foot to 90 and T-frame your arms with the palms looking down at the mat. Lengthen through the fingertips as if you wanted to touch the walls at opposite ends of the room. We're going to rotate our warrior two. Invert the front palm, drop the back hand to your back leg and give me a soft wrap around, softening through the elbow and gently peeking up towards that palm. Give me a few more breaths here, then you're going to bleed seamlessly into your rotated side angle. Bringing the arms back down to your start position, tucking the back toe under, pivot, plant your right hand alongside the hip, and reach back, opposite hand to hip on the left, so that you're grabbing your right hip with your left palm and gently opening up. Throw back that shoulder and peep over the shoulder towards the back of your mat as if somebody was standing behind you. From here, we're going to find our way into triangle, Trikonasana. So you're going to step up the back leg slightly, plant your foot at 45, windmill your arms open, and find your original warrior line. Pretend somebody's pulling you forward. Hinge forward and set up your triangle line. Either staying high up and just planting the back of your hand against the thigh, using your block if you need to, maybe dropping the fingertips or the palm to the mat. Play where you're comfortable. And then let's rotate the triangle. Bring the top arm closer towards your ear line. And then as it's flush towards your ear, cross over the midline of the body, reaching opposite hand to floor or using your block modification if you need to, and come into a soft T-like frame through the arms. Keeping your belly button softly pulled in to center the whole time that you're playing. Then gently take a step to the front of the mat. Peel up along the center line and heel toe your feet in. So big toes are touching, ankles are touching, and bring your hands into Jupiter Mudra by interlacing the fingers, bringing the index fingers together and crossing the thumbs. Start with your index fingers planted in front of your heart center. Take a big breath in, floating your hands overhead as if you wanted to tap the index fingers to the ceiling. And then gently fold forward to hanging table or to tap your index fingers to the floor. You're going to flow through those two movements dynamically. Playing between Hastasana, a standing overhead stretch, and a modified Uttanasana, tapping your index fingers to the floor. So you're holding that little Jupiter Mudra through the fingertips the whole time that you're playing. Exhale as you tap the fingertips to the floor. Inhale as you gently stretch overhead. As you're taking that overhead stretch, keep the shoulders soft. All right, let's change it up. Come back down along the center line and stop with the hands in front of your heart. Take a big breath in to prepare, and on the exhale, sit back into an imaginary chair. Don't rock the weight forward over the knees. Bump the weight back into your bum and your heels and keep your Jupiter Mudra. Take a big breath in to prepare, and on the exhale, twist softly to the left to tap your right elbow to the outside of your left knee, keeping your Jupiter fingertips piercing the wall in front of you. Inhale and come back to center. Exhale, gently come overhead. Inhale to prepare. Exhale to sit back into your chair. Inhale to prepare. Exhale to softly twist to the right, tucking your left elbow to the outside of the right knee, keeping your Jupiter bind. Come back towards the center line. Lengthen those fingertips overhead, tapping the ceiling. Exhale to sit back in your chair. Inhale to prepare. Exhale to twist, either staying here with your elbow tucked alongside the knee or open up your arms into a soft T-like frame, trying to tap your fingertips to the mat and really push with the back of your elbow against the knees. Float back into Jupiter. Come back along the center line, piercing the ceiling or the sky with your fingertips on an inhale. Exhale to sit back in your chair. Inhale to prepare. Find your little twist, either holding it here or opening up your arms into a soft T-frame. Find your way back to Jupiter. Pierce the ceiling with your fingertips. Come down along the center line and gently place your fingertips on the mat and step back into the down dog frame. Once you've found your down dog frame, check that your hands are more or less shoulder width apart, feet hip width distance apart. Stay here or find your way into elephant by trying to creep your feet half to a full foot space forward and try to plant the whole foot into the floor. Stay here, working your elephant, or play dynamically by holding your frame, so planting firmly down into the feet and the hands, and seeing if you can lift and hover your right palm and fingertips just off the mat. Pause for a beat here, then replicate on the left. Then plant both hands on the mat and lift and float one foot up behind you, bracing softly into the heel. We're not going for height now. We're focusing more on balance and trying to keep the other three limbs firmly planted into the mat. Come back to the center line. Now try opposite arm and leg. Maybe floating the left arm and the right foot just off the mat, firmly planting into the 2 points of contact onto the mat. Keep your core engaged, come back to the center line, and try on the other side. Come back to your elephant frame and see if you can walk your feet out, finding your way into a plank. At any time, you can drop to the knees and hold a 4-point kneeling frame if you need to. Otherwise, nice and strong through your plank. You could open up your feet and your hands a little bit wider if you need to. See if you can lift and float the right arm alongside your ear. Hold it there for a few seconds and then replicate on the left. Plant both hands firmly into the mat and try to lift and hover one foot up behind you. Bring it down and try the other foot. All right, let's try opposite arm and leg. Find your plank line first. Float the right arm up and then gently coax the left foot up off the floor. Trying to hold for maybe 5 seconds. Keep looking down at the mat, core nice and strong. Now try the other side. Bring the left arm up when you feel nice and secure. Coax the right foot off the floor and try to hold as steady as you can. Ease your way back to your plank line and find your elephant line or your down dog by creeping the feet forward and settling into elephant or down dog. Try to creep those feet a little bit closer if you're coming into elephant so that you can really ground through the whole foot. Take a big breath in, float the right arm off the mat and reach around. So touch your palm to shin and wrap and hold the back of your calf. If you can't reach the leg, maybe just extend and try to reach past for the corner of your mat. Keep your belly button softly pulled in, that bum piked up to the ceiling. Come back to your full expression and try the stretch on the other side. So opposite hand to leg. Keep bumping the weight back into your bum bones. Come back to your elephant. Try the stretch one more to each side, but this time come from the inside, wrapping around your calf. Try to keep the weight bearing equal between the balls and the heels of your feet. Try that stretch on the inside on both sides, holding for roughly between 5 and 6 seconds. Getting a nice inversion of blood into the head at the same time. Then gently ease your way or walk your way back to your plank line. Holding your plank here, nice and parallel to the floor. Or if you need some more work, bend the left knee, tap it to the elbow and hold it there for at least 5 seconds. Pushing the mat strongly away through your hands. Keep your shoulders strong, keep your core engaged, then change sides. Right elbow and knee making a soft connect, belly button firmly pulled in to center. Ease your way back to your plank line, relax the knees and the shins and find your extended puppy line by softly extending the arms on the mat in front of you, looking off the front of the mat. So almost looking between the two thumbs as you think of trying to connect the chin and the chest to the mat. Then drag your weight forward, set your way up into a Cobra line and give me that little spontaneous Cobra as you think of shrugging and releasing through the shoulders. Give me both directions. So maybe 3 traces in one direction and then 3 in the other. We're going to come to a locust line, Salambasana from here. Nod your chin softly and your forehead softly to the mat and float the arms alongside the body, back of the hands connected to the mat, palms looking up. We're going to come up seamlessly into the locust. Pretend that you've got a little marble underneath your nose. Roll the marble away from you to the front of the mat, and at the same time that you're peeling up through the ribs, lift and hover the arms and the legs off the mat. Coming to rest on your bottom rib with the hip bones softly digging into the mat. Extend through the fingertips, the toes, and the crown of your head. Try to drop those shoulders away from your ears. Then softly peel back down to the mat. Retuck that marble underneath your nose, either coming back into your locust, or making a little fist on either side and tucking the fists underneath your hips so that the two thumbs are together along the midline of the body, giving our lower viscera a little bit of a massage. Allow the elbows to soften. The rest of your locust line remains the same. Keep the legs soft and relaxed and parallel. Almost flatten out. So don't round out your fist. Almost flatten out the fist on the floor behind you if it feels uncomfortable. But keep those thumbs looking in. Roll that marble away. Peel up through the ribs. Float the feet up behind you and find your modified locust, giving that all the bottom organs a beautiful little tone and massage. If this feels really uncomfortable, just repeat the first locust that we played with. Holding here for at least 5 to 6 seconds, then gently peeling back down to the mat. Feed those hands out, bend the elbows, stacking the forearms one on top of the other. Bend the knees and gently sway the feet side to side. Taking a little time out here. Extend the legs long and relaxed and parallel behind you. Bend the elbows and bring the palms alongside your bosom. We're going to push back into a relaxed child. Come through a loose 4-point kneeling position, allowing the big toes to float together. Arms extended in front. Take a little stretch here. Then almost creeping your hands back closer towards your body line and trying to sink the heels closer towards your bum line. Then bending the elbows, floating the forearms in towards the midline, stacking your palms and resting your forehead on the back of your hands. Take a big breath in for 5 counts. And on an exhale for 10, slowly rotate your head to the left so that you're resting on the right temple, and just bleed all of the tension from your shoulders and the collar area. Inhale and come back towards the center line. Exhale as you rotate softly to the right, coming to rest on your left temple. Pause here, leeching and letting go of all that tension. Then as you find your way back to the center line, maybe cupping the arms around the body so that the back of the hands are connected to the mat and the palms gently looking up to the ceiling. Stay or rock dynamically onto the crown of your head as you play between child pose and hare pose, trying to look for that mindful length through the neck as you play. If you've got any neck issues, just stay in your relaxed child with the arms soft and relaxed at your side. End in your relaxed child with the arms cupping the body, palms up, and just give yourself at least 3 to 4 seconds here, allowing your blood pressure to stabilize. Find your way to a 4-point kneeling frame from here. Check that your hands are stacking underneath your shoulders, knees underneath your hips. We're going to play in cat-cow. Inhale to prepare, allowing your chin and your bum bones to gravitate to the ceiling, but keep your belly button softly pulled into center. Exhale to round out, growing those ribs, opening up through the shoulders, and then find a steady rhythm of your own, oscillating between the two, holding your cat frame for twice as long as the cow frame. So maybe inhaling for, let's say, 3 as you find your cow, and then exhaling for, let's say, 6 as you round out, growing the ribs and opening up through the shoulders. Let's do one more. Then you're going to find your way to a tabletop line. So somewhere between the cat and the cow, keeping that belly button, of course, softly pulled into center as you play. Keep your gaze steady down on the mat. Take a big breath in and float your right arm up to the ceiling in a soft T-like frame. On an exhale, dynamically thread underneath your left armpit, coming to rest on the side of your head. Try not to lean into the mat. Keep your hips stacked softly over your knees as you thread the needle. Inhale to come back to the center and repeat on the other side. Big breath in, float the left arm up to the ceiling. On an exhale, dynamically thread underneath your right armpit, coming to rest on the side of your head, keeping your hips softly stacked over your knees with your belly button firmly pulled in. We'll work 2 more iterations. Inhale and find your way back to center. Float your right arm up. On an exhale, tuck underneath your left armpit, either staying here on the mat or floating the left arm up to the ceiling so that your arms are both extended, long and lengthened. Keep your hips stacked over your knees. Find your way back to the center line and repeat on the other side. Big breath in, floating your left fingertips up to the ceiling. On an exhale, thread. Once you've found your grounding on the mat, open up your right arm to the ceiling and think of that soft T-like frame through the arms. 1 more iteration. Find your way back to 4-point kneeling. Take a big breath in, float your right fingertips up to the ceiling. On an exhale, thread underneath your left armpit, staying here or opening up your arms into T. If that feels good, bend the top arm, rotate the palm in to grab hold of your opposite hip, opening up even more through that shoulder blade to peek up at the ceiling, keeping that belly button firmly pulled in. Find your way back to 4-point kneeling. Big inhale in, float the left arm up to the ceiling. On an exhale, thread underneath your right armpit, coming to rest on the side of your temple as you float the top arm up to the ceiling. If that feels good, float that top arm behind your back, rotate the palm in to reach hold of your opposite hip bone. Keep opening up through that right shoulder as you peek up to the ceiling. Ease your way back to your 4-point kneeling frame and find a neutral tabletop line. So pretend that you're balancing a teacup and a saucer on your back and keep that belly button firmly pulled in. So suck that gut in. Alrighty, keeping your gaze down on the mat and not dropping the head, looking for that length through the spine. You're going to extend opposite arm and leg. Let's do left leg, right arm coming into extension. Don't throw up the limbs too high. Think of giving me a long line through the arm, the neck, the back, and the leg. Stay or take it into tiger pose by bending that extended back leg, reaching opposite hand to foot. Then squaring up through the hips and either keeping your neckline in neutral or giving me a soft throwback and stretching that little turkey waddle underneath your chin. Come out of Viagrasana and find your 4-point kneeling frame. When you're ready, repeat on the other side. So left arm and right leg coming into a long extended line, trying to pierce the wall in front of you and behind you. Stay or play. Bend the floating back leg, reach opposite hand to foot, square up through the hips. Kick the hand, or rather kick the foot into the hand, either keeping your chin line in neutral or finding that soft throwback. Let your neck be your guide. Then from here, gently kick back into child pose. Big toes together, knees open nice and wide. Extend the arms out in front and take a little stretch here. Then drape the forearms into the mat. Actively bend the elbows, float the forearms in, find your forearms stack, and rest your forehead on the back of your hands. Take a big breath in to prepare. On the exhale, softly rotate your head to the left. Inhale, come back towards the center line. Exhale, rotate to the right. Inhale, come back towards the center line. To drape the arms softly alongside the body, palms looking up, and just make your shoulder blades really heavy into the mat. Think of the shoulder blades melting right into the mat and your arms melting right into the mat. And when you're ready, gently peel up along the center line, either coming into Thunderbolt with the knees together and the feet together, sitting up nice and tall, or find a kneeling frame with your hips stacked over the knees if Thunderbolt is too much on the knees for you. Float the hands behind your back. Keep your current orientation. Bending the elbows and either stacking one elbow on top of the other and just resting the weight in your lower back, allowing the shoulder blades to become heavy to the mat, or bringing your hands into a prayer-like position with the palms together, the fingertips touching along your rib cage and the fingertips looking towards the nape of your neck. Find the stack that works for you. Think of making the shoulder blades heavy away from your ears and looking for length through the spine. Try not to curve the lower back too much, so give me a little tuck at the tailbone, pull the belly button in, and give me a long extended line from your tailbone to your crown. Pushing gently into the palms, getting a beautiful stretch through the arms, and a little bit of work through the shoulders. Close your eyes, take your focus in. And then end off your practice today by nodding your chin softly towards your chest and saying the words, Namaste. Namaste to you all. Thank you so much for joining me on the mat today. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed today's class. Remember to shoot me your comments in the comments box below and to subscribe with your notification bell on. I shall see you all for Pilates conditioning on the mat tomorrow. Till then, keep it light.